What's going on, guys? Marbeck here with another video. So, look, I started playing around with the app some more. I'll admit it was partially my fault for not checking on this stuff. I don't know that there has been much of an update here. Maybe a bit of an overhaul, maybe, on the overall look and feel of the app, but I'm not that for sure that it's all that much of an update. So I figured I would go ahead and ask you guys as well. So I went on ahead and I put on my zoom lens, and I was testing the zoom functionality out on the app. From what I can tell, the zoom function in app is exactly the same shitty way that they were doing it beforehand. Okay? So maybe I'm wrong. That's the reason I'm asking you guys. This is a way for us to help each other out. So when I tap on tight, tap on that T, I mean, it just feels like the zoom is just, it's not hardly moving at all. That's exactly the way it used to be. So if they did anything to that, I can't tell a difference at all. So if you guys are having any better luck with that function, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know. Now, the other thing that I did want to check was the fact that some people were asking if we finally had touch to focus. What's going on, Photography Junkie? Glad you could hang out with me. Some of the other people were finally asking if they actually had touch to focus in video mode finally. And as far as I can tell, not the case. It's like, do you even work here, Sony? Like, who was working on this? And you know what? They were just like, yeah, you know what? We could add a bunch of new, interesting, and fun functionality, but what if we didn't? So I think that's kind of what we've got here. So when I was in video mode, I swapped completely from the photographic mode over to video mode, and I was unable to see the little finger that signifies that you can touch the screen and change your autofocus points. That wasn't here on the app. So as far as I can tell, photo mode has been largely unaffected. It's pretty much the same. It's not any better. I'm not going to say that it's any worse either. I do like the visual upgrade that Sony made to that app. I just don't really think that it's made it any better in video mode, which is what I was the most looking forward to. I was really hoping for more functionality, more features, at least, for God's sake, touch to focus while in video mode. The visual overhaul seems to be fine. I like it a hell of a lot better than having all of my controls just sort of lambasted all over my image. But it does seem like, as far as any real sort of functionality that's been built into it extra, it just hasn't happened. Jorge Martinez says, Sony needs to talk to Panasonic about making an excellent app for use on mirrorless. And I agree. I am getting now to the point where, like, No. Wrong adjective. I love Panasonic's implementation of not only touch screen, and this goes for both the app and the camera itself. Okay, I think we're back. Are we back? Okay. I am sorry. I bumped it and the audio cut out. I apologize. I'm trying to remember where I was at. Okay. Here's the thing, though, is that if this was just a visual update, they should have just said that. But when I saw that they had finally released like an update for it, and they said that they had added some more, to me, I read the update as that they had finally added some extra functionality. They said that it made it more as if you were using the camera itself. Well, I can assure you that it is not. Okay. I don't really want to bash, but at the same time, I feel as though I must harshly criticize. How you doing, Dunny Monster? Good to see you. Sony is really dropping the ball here lately. The A6500 is an amazing camera, so don't get me wrong. But the touch portion of every single thing that they have created thus far has been so lackluster. Like, I am not even the least bit remotely impressed by what they're doing in that department. Features-wise, as long as you have the camera in your hand, as long as you are physically touching the camera, everything seems to be great. But as soon as we start moving into anything sort of software-based, it just falls flat. Photography Junkie says, I like the fact that you can hit record for video. I would have liked touch to focus, but in fairness, where'd it go? It went away. I can't read it anymore. But that's the thing, is that touch to focus, I think, is a pretty basic functionality that ought to be there. Then again, maybe I'm just asking too much. I mean, I kind of feel like sometimes I've been kind of a hard ass here lately on Sony, and I'm not necessarily trying to be that way, but it's like, goddamn, like, it's not that hard. And I know you have the money to do this. You are a consumer electronics company. Make that happen. Okay, he says, in fairness, I'm used to video and I tend to have my focus locked off on manual glass. And that's true. Some people are probably not going to miss it, especially if you have manual focus turned on or something and you're manually focusing in and you don't need any extra functionality. And I got to be honest, I'm not as upset about it as maybe I ought to be, because a lot of times I just use the face auto tracking, especially when I'm doing vlogs. So in that regard, it's not going to affect me that much. But if I've got the camera off on a tripod somewhere and I would just like to stand, off to the side a little bit so I can kind of see the action while I'm videoing, this would also be a really good function for those people that do a lot of video and they would like to be a focus puller. I'm not saying that this is going to be a very precise way of doing some focus pulling, but just having that ability to tap on your phone and refocus on something else within the frame is a really big deal. And so, again, I'm not really trying to bash on Sony because they've done a lot of good things, but I feel like I need to give them a good hard scolding. What's going on, Zoomering? Nice to see you. Thanks for hanging out with me. So, there is no touch to focus, and the zooming, if you have a zoom lens on your camera, is almost no improvement whatsoever. If any of you guys have ever tried to use the zoom function whatsoever on the Sony app, it sucks like the biggest D. I mean, it's like, why did you even implement it? If that is all you were going to get, why even mess around with it? So, if any of you guys have experienced anything similar, or maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't claim to know it all. I just try to mess with it as best as I possibly can and report the most accurate information that I can. And when I mess up, I have absolutely no problem going, dude, you're right. I apologize, and let's get this thing figured out. So while the interface itself seems to be heavily updated, and it looks a whole lot better than what it did before, I don't see much extra functionality currently built in. So the two biggest things that I was looking for was touch to focus in video and an improved zoom function with zoom lenses. And this goes for both the still side and the video side. So touching the wide tight button on the app, it still sucks really, really bad. So if you guys have any tips or tricks for me or your fellow photographers, leave those comments down in the comment section below after the fact. Dunny Monster says, no touch to focus. Does touch to focus work on the A51? Or, shit. Let's see. One thing I'd be curious is the control multiple. I don't think that it does that because the camera creates an ad hoc network. I'm not saying that it's impossible. That's honestly just one thing that I've never tested out. Trying to control one camera with two phones. Or trying to control... you can't do it the other way around. because each camera creates its own ad hoc network. So your phone could only connect to one at a time because it's connecting via Wi-Fi and not Bluetooth. I think with Bluetooth, you could probably have a little bit more success with that because phones are allowed to connect to multiple devices with Bluetooth, but you can't do that with Wi-Fi. But yeah, so if you have any tips or anything for your fellow photographers, leave those down in the comment section below after the video is over. ULF or UL Photo says Panasonic software better than Sony software. That is 100% true. And this is one of the reasons why, because I am a vlogger, not a daily vlogger, but I do so many vlogs. And you know what? For the last 2 or 3 weeks or so, I've been playing around with the Panasonic G85 just because I'm trying to whet my appetite a little bit before the GH5 comes out. And just being able to touch that screen and interact with the camera, being able to review my photos, pinch to zoom, delete photos, touch to focus, all those things is making me consider Panasonic so much more. And I'm sure that there's probably more than a few of you that also watch the Camera Store, Chris and Jordan from up in Canada. They just released a video with the GH5, heavily processed using Cinelink D. We're able to pull lots of detail in shadows, maintain details in shadows, and very, very low noise. So all of that in combination really does, man. Like it didn't look bad anymore. You know, like I was expecting, because that was kind of a dark bar area. So yeah, I'm seriously considering a Panasonic camera at this point. It just makes my workflow so much faster. Just being able to flip the screen out, record my videos. Panasonic has like a ton of access, not only to their own lenses, which would offer dual image stabilization, and also all of the Olympus class. So there are a lot more lens choices in the Micro Four Thirds line of cameras, and a lot more less expensive lenses as compared to Sony. So I don't know, man. I hate being this torn because I just got into the Sony system 2 years ago. I really don't want to sell all my shit and start all over again with a completely new system. I don't think that my transition would be that bad. But at the same time, the biggest hang-ups that I continue to have with moving away from Sony cameras is the fact that autofocus is so good on the Sony cameras. So good that you almost don't need to pull focus anymore. I mean, it really is that good. The auto face tracking is just superb. I never, ever, ever worry about the Sony losing focus on my face when I'm doing vlogging or anything like that. And I have noticed that Panasonic has got quite a bit better. It's just not quite on par with the Sony. So anyway, I am just way off topic. Let me see if I can bring up a couple of those comments. I don't think that I can. I'm trying. UL Photo says the other camera manufacturer will improve their software in the future. And it's true, they will. I know that they will, but this is not really an upgrade on Sony's part. This is made, more or less just like a re-release of bad software with a prettier glob of makeup on, really. This is not an improvement. This is basically a facelift. So I don't see any extra functionality that came out of this thing, so I'm kind of bummed. I'm a little disappointed, and I'm sorry that I even kind of wasted my time making a video this morning about an app that is literally the same with just a different shade of lipstick on. So, at any rate, guys, thanks again for hanging out with me. If you've got any tips for your fellow photographers, just remember this is more than just me trying to talk at you. Please help out your fellow photographers and videographers and leave your tips and stuff down in the comment section below so that they have the best and latest information that we currently have. So anyway, guys, thanks again for stopping here at the Photo Video Show. I'm your host, Mark Puckett. I will see you guys again in the next one. Peace out.